Hey everyone, I wanted to just share some stuff from my heart, honestly. I think sometimes it's great to have a topic and sometimes it's just nice just to share on what's kind of been going on with me. I had a mentor in my life recently. I say recently, I don't know when it was, I ain't gonna pretend to know. But he was talking about how we can get caught in extremes, like, oh, self-care, self-awareness, or, self-love, and this whole anthem that seems to be taking over our planet and our Instagrams currently, versus this, like, no, like you're a bond slave to Christ and, you lay your life down in order to live a life for His. And it's this, like, dichotomy. It's this, it's this paradox. And I think, he used this illustration and I thought it was just so amazing. But he talked about, when you're driving in a car, if you focus on one side or the other, you'll end up in the ditch. And I was like, that's so good, because I feel like that's what happens sometimes as we're living. We are learning something, so we put all of our focus into, I'm gonna learn self-love and self-care, and then we end up in a ditch. Or we focus on something else and we end up in that ditch. And sometimes I think that's the beautiful aspect of the gospel, is that it's both. It's both loving and taking care of yourself and also giving yourself away to your neighbor and to those in need around you. And so I've been trying to live this out on the road and not getting in the ditches, but I feel like something that's so beautiful is that, self-awareness is great. It gives the invitation for God to come close to your heart, come close to your pain, come close to your emotions. And it's this beautiful invitation for the Lord to dive in with you and to walk through stuff you need to walk through. But the other side of that stick is self-absorption, where we begin to worship ourselves and we begin to think that we are God, quote unquote. I know no one's intentionally trying to be God, but I think sometimes we make it about us. We make it about our emotions, and almost like we can idolize our emotions and our situation more than remembering, like, He's the worthy one. He's the one that is walking this with me. And I think it's that tension of, we just need to talk about it. I know in my own life, there's been seasons that I have so focused in on self-care and self-love that it really honestly got me into a ditch. I remember thinking one day, like, why do I just feel so selfish now? Like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm using the power of my no. I'm using boundaries, and I love boundaries. If it wasn't for boundaries, I could not love people well in my life. I'd give too much love to someone that hasn't earned that place yet. And I would love somebody too much that it's, there's just all those things. But I think all these things are great tools. But I think the heart says, I can't use boundaries for protection in the sense of self-protection. Because God has called us to love people. God's called me to love my neighborhood. God's called me to love a hurting and dying world. And if I'm so self-protected all the time, what actually am I loving? And why is my love so rigid and self-absorbed? And so the kingdom says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So there's a beautiful invitation to love yourself and love yourself well and take care of yourself and make sure you're getting poured into and make sure you're getting healing, make sure you're doing the things that He's asked you to do. But that has to lead into action. That has to lead into compassion that turns into others, because the gospel is others. The gospel's go, not stay. The gospel is give, not hoard. Like, there's all these paradoxes. And so I love self-love and I also hate self-love because, again, it's the extremes. I love it, but I hate it. I hate that if I'm so focused on it, I forget my neighbor. I hate that if I'm so focused on self-care, I forget to care for my closest friends because I'm too busy telling them to care for me. Care for me. This is how you need to care for me. And it's also like, I need to also remember, like, I'm called to steward these people's hearts, like, as friends, as family, as a leader. And how do you lead and take care of yourself? And it's becoming that vessel, that clay pot that gets poured into by the Lord, with the Lord, from heaven, in time, being loved continually and pouring out from that place. I'm so loved by heaven that I can give heaven away. And so in that case, I love self-love and I love self-care. But if it's unto stubbornness, if it's unto becoming narcissistic, thinking that you have all the answers, if it's unto everybody give me something and you're never giving something away, I think that's a huge checkpoint that we need to check in on and say, okay, have I gone into a ditch? Or am I just on the road? Or have I gone off the road? Have I gotten off track slightly? And then we graciously say, God, get me back on the road. That beautiful paradox that it is both. It's love your neighbor, love yourself. It's love God with everything within you. Love your neighbor and love yourself. And so I want to invite us in culturally, because I know that it's a thing. Self-love, self-care, take care of yourself, go to the spa, get a massage, make sure you're doing you, baby. Like all that is a huge anthem right now. And I think it's beautiful, genuinely. I think there's aspects of it that call me, even in personally, say, Shay, you should check in on yourself. But I also want to say that the other side of that is that needs to be unto giving it away. That needs to lead to me pouring my life out, not hoarding up, because what if something goes bad? And so I want to invite us in on that culturally. I want to invite you in to say, God, are there ditches, are there extremes that I'm living in that need to be balanced out? I think some of the biggest, most dangerous things that we can live in is misconceptions. When we have put all of our eggs in one basket and we don't dare to ask God, who knows everything, God, am I supposed to put all my eggs in this basket? What are you asking of me, and what does the gospel say? So I want to invite you in to ask yourself some hard questions as we go into this new year, as we go into another year of dreaming big and, all these crazy things of being healthy and all this stuff. It needs to lead into action of giving something away. So I pray that encourages you on your walk, and I just pray that you would give something away. Give something away. You need a massage? Give someone a massage. You can get my email at the link down below. I hope you have a good day.